I just wanted to quickly go over how my 8-week Serm cycle of MK-2866 Ostarine at 12.5 mg a day went. And the brief overview of it is that for 8 weeks, I took 12.5 mg daily of MK-2866 Ostarine, Fadogia Agrestis 600 mg, and Tongkat Ali Complex at about 500 mg or at 500 mg. I worked out every day. I was probably overdoing it, but I just like doing it. There's a lot of reasons to believe I probably could have like worked out half as much and gotten similar results. I wanted to like you go through the results and just show you like images of my before and after. Starved myself down from being overweight, from gaining a bunch of weight in COVID to and you can see it got me pretty small. Here on this first one, you can just see how thin my arms are, and then you really see it in the shoulders. Because there's something about like shoulders are super responsive to like changes in testosterone. But then you can see that the arms just pop out dramatically. Something that's also not immediately clear at first glance is like my neck. My neck just looks bigger. People mostly told me that they saw it in my back and shoulders. Little crazy to me because I feel like my arms were doing great. Here's another one with me just being like thin, nothing too interesting there. Just starved down from from being rather heavy. I want to say it was at like 210, 220, and I got myself down to about 170 lowish. Lowest was at like 160. Again, just much bigger upper body. As you can probably see, I changed my hair a bunch during this time. My hair's thinning, or it has been thinning, and I've been working on different like methods to try to stop it from thinning so much. I've had some success, but that's a different video. And then going on to my legs, I feel like my legs are the most pronounced. I've famously actually not done a great job of working on my legs ever. I've had strong upper bodies before, but I always kind of skipped leg day. I would sometimes be teased about it by like close friends and stuff like that. Most people never really saw me, you know what I mean, without wearing enough to even really notice. But you can definitely see here that the gains in the legs are undeniable. I know the upper body had some growth, but to me, the legs really seem like dramatically big. So those were the before and after photos. And yeah, I'm 36, and I would suspect any 36-year-old with a similar health profile that I have going on to get similar results. Um, I wouldn't recommend this at all if you have like anything going on with your liver. Probably not very good if you have anything going on with your heart. Most of this stuff tends to be very hard on the liver and the heart. There are some ways around the liver, is my understanding, um, but I can't give recommendations on that, and I don't know enough about it to really speak on it. I did now. How do I feel? I definitely wish I had a PCT plan. The gain was great, but towards the end, I've lost my sex drive entirely. And right now, I've still basically don't have my sex drive back. Um, I've had minor depressive symptoms, which not uncommon as life as a whole, but I can just feel it is not being like normal, especially not with like the pseudo confident high that Ostarine tends to give you, which is one of the benefits of taking it is just your mood is so much better. Um, so like one of the changes I wish I had made, or if I was to do this again, is that I wish I'd used a 4 androgen test base, probably a cream. I went into this not actually knowing enough about, you know, uh, androgen receptors and things like that to be able to build this accurately. I've seen other people on YouTube do exactly what I'm about to recommend. I just didn't know why, and I just didn't want to do things just because I see other people doing it. So Sarms take over the androgen side of producing testosterone, and so that your estrogen isn't being produced or used in a way that's natural because my understanding is that your body converts some of the estrogen to testosterone. It's not converting the estrogen over. Your body doesn't produce as much estrogen as it used to, and then after a while your estrogen begins to crash. And I would say almost all the symptoms I'm going through right now is because of that. A four androgen test base, I would probably go with a cream, which is what I've seen other people do. And the reason for this is that it's less hard on the liver if you go with a cream. Though it does have some other side effects that are much, it has some other side effects that may make it better to take a pill if you have a super good liver, you trust yourself well enough with that, and to just keep the estrogen levels up would would have helped with my sex drive. That being said, reading on forums, I have learned that people have added things like the four androgen test base, specifically the cream, and still have went through this period of erectile dysfunction. Um, yeah. So that being said, I would still probably recommend that. I do wish I had a more proper PCT, as you're going to hear at the end of this. I'm not going through like I'm not off the SORMs yet. I want to go through a cut phase, but like I've looked into it and I've seen HC generate ES and N2 guard as being like good PCTs that will help you through this very well. The N2 guard is actually just to help clean up the liver, which is probably something that like I need to pay more attention to because I've really not paid any attention to that. I think it's probably something that's rather important. Um, Another thing I wish I would have done is basically taken twice as much MK-2866 Ostarine. I've learned about the half-life of it and how the way I was taking it, I would take it in the morning, but sometimes by the time I would work out, it could be at the end of the day. And so it's basically worked through my system. It's not to say that it's not good to have it that had been taking it anyway. As you can see, there's clearly some kind of results going on. But if I was to do it again, I would have taken 12 mg when I woke up and then another 12.5 mg right before I worked out. Um, I don't I don't know if I really know the science behind it besides like the half-life information I told you, which means like I would have gotten more of the benefits of it by taking it that way. And but even still, I don't want to act like I truly understand. Like, is the difference that big? If I'm taking every day anyway, and my androgen um, has just been totally reworked by the Ostarine anyway, does that matter? I'm not 100% sure. That just reading online just seems like what other people do. So it would lead me to think, yeah, that's what I want to do. Another thing I wish I would have done, uh, eaten more and eaten cleaner. So I would say, especially the last 2 weeks, I noticed a lot more fat on my body. Um, some people have described this as actually being like water weight. So there's some serums promote the holding of water, especially if you're having a lot of salt in your diet, and other serums will not help with water retention or prevent you from having water in your body. So one of the reasons some of my muscles could actually have looked so big is that they were just holding a lot of water. That this is my understanding of how like that post pump look works, especially when you're throwing in uh, all the pre workout and stuff like that. You can really get just a good visual pump. Um, that being said, it also just makes me look bloated, especially when I'm not at the gym, not posing for a workout photo. I just feel much more bloated. And basically, days after I stopped the Ostarine, the girl I'm seeing, like we were laying together, and she like touched my belly. And it's like, oh man, you already look slimmer. And it's just like, man, I was just so bloated. Um, and yeah, and so I think if I ate cleaner, it would have helped that. Like one recommendation would be to not eat so much salty food Like once you're in the place where you're taking Ostarine like this, my understanding from listening to other people talk about it online is that your body gets much more sensitive to the salt. Probably also ate too much fat, a lot more fat than I would have needed to eat. Um, so yeah, and I mean some of that really came down to time and money. Eating really clean in the way I would have liked, it's just very expensive and very time consuming, and I just didn't have the time to dedicate to that. Um, and I wish I had, though. I wish I would have developed better ways to do it and to manage it correctly. I did a lot better early on, which is where most of my gains were made. Uh, but man, it gets exhausting, and it's also the kind of thing like I don't like steak very much to begin with. To expect me to eat tons of steak every day gets to be a lot. Um, Now, what I'm looking at going into is entering a cutting phase. I want to lose weight. So I started looking into different cutting options, and I did see Adarine S4 as a good SORM to look into. My understanding is that it helps with water retention, like your body won't hold as much water. And then basically uh, work out the same amount, but skip eating every other day. Maybe a little bit of protein in there, but mostly skip eating. I'm not sure if that's the most effective way I can go to retain the most muscle that I can. I'm assuming with the S4, it'll probably help a lot. Um, and yeah, just see where that leads me to after a few weeks, because hopefully I'll just drop a lot of fat very quickly. I'm worried that's too aggressive of a style, but because my diet was so dirty and ran so poorly, it would be hard for me to really point at what my caloric set point was for my metabolism and just slowly starting to build it down. Like I just, because I did such a bad job with my diet, it's too hard to monitor that. So I'm just going to try the S4 and intermittent fasting 24 hours for 8 weeks and see where that puts me. After that, I think I'm going to do another 8 weeks of MK-2866 Ostarine and try to add that 4 androgen test base with a cream to it. And assuming everything goes well, I think it should be gains all around, and I should have a very good physique or a much more impressive physique than I feel like I currently have in another 16 weeks. So, yeah, I'll touch base with you guys more on that later. Let me know if you have any questions.